It is 10:15 and time to start page number 2 of the morning magazine. And to help us do that, he joins me by phone as he does every Thursday morning about this time. His name is David Stokes. He is a policy analyst with the Show Me Institute. Good morning, David. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you today, Manny.
Well, we got a couple of things we're going to get into this morning, and let's start off here. First of all, a little bit more information coming out about something we talked about earlier this year, actually, on this program, and that is the situation with the parking there at Shady Gators, and it looks like they may actually be working on a parking lot out there. Is that correct?
Well, there's a nice article in Lake News Online describing how the owner of Shady Gators and Lazy Gators, Mr. Pruitt, has really tried to, perhaps finally, from some perspective, his critics might say, but nonetheless, he seems to be real forthrightly trying to address the parking situation right there, which, as so many people around the Ozarks know, is serious. So he's here. He's bought some undeveloped property near the facilities, and he's attempting to do what I thought everybody wanted him to do, which is build a parking lot so that people won't be parking on the neighborhood streets and clogging up the roads in the area. But for some reason, and I honestly don't understand it, the county, or at least some within the county, are attempting to block him from building this parking lot, which is very strange.
It looks like this, if I understand it correctly, and we are going to try to also talk with Mr. Pruitt at some point, but it looks like it looks like it's a planning and zoning issue, if I'm gathering this right.
Well, it is in that he bought this property, which was apparently left unzoned when they instituted zoning in Camden County approximately a decade ago. And so I guess that's the local government equivalent of the undead or something. But legally, I mean, he can pretty much do what he wants with this property. I mean, retroactive zoning, it puts Camden County in certainly, and I'm not an attorney, but I mean, that is a dangerous legal road to go. I've seen governments try to prevent things that they didn't want within an area by zoning it after something had already started, and it's a very dangerous legal road to go, as I said. There's an excellent chance that when governments do that, they're generally stopped by the courts. So the idea that the county wouldn't say, all right, we made an error, it's unzoned, he owns it now, he can build his parking lot, which everybody wants in the end, I think that's what they have to do, and trying to block it seems to be a very peculiar move by Camden County.
Well, that's a decent size plot of land that they're working with there. It's a 32-acre plot that it looks like, at least that's the plan there is for the folks there at Shady Gators. They want to develop that into a parking lot, and you would think that would be something the commission would be on board with, because I know they, in the past, and we've discussed this on this program, have been inundated with complaints about people parking anywhere and everywhere to try to get to this establishment.
Absolutely. That's what is so strange about the reaction from Camden County. You'd think that the neighbors, the government officials, and the patrons, and Mr. Pruitt, that everybody would be very happy with this solution. It's a very large lot. You can certainly easily put space for hundreds and hundreds of cars and trucks there. People can walk or take simple shuttles to and from the facilities. It sounds like Mr. Pruitt's hit upon a solution here, and he's building this with his own money. I mean, as I understand it, there's no subsidy here from other taxpayers. I mean, he's investing in this so that he can serve his customers, so they can come to his businesses, and they can stop interfering with the residents through the parking problems, which are admittedly so severe. Yet the county is giving him planning and zoning trouble with this instead of celebrating from it. I think that Camden County commissioners and others need to sit back and say, look, whether we like it or not, we don't have the zoning to stop it. Let's just go forward with it and let him address the problem, which everybody's wanted him to address for years now.
Well, it will be indeed interesting to see how that all does play out there. Again, it has been an area of concern for quite some time, and it, at least from what we're hearing right now, it would seem to be a viable solution to a problem that, again, has been troubling for the residents in that area. and perhaps maybe could help with some of the traffic issues as well, as this is a very busy part of the Lake of the Ozarks area, especially in the summertime. And, this is also a situation, David, where the geographic landscape is also kind of comes into play here, because it's a pretty tight area out there.
It is, and last time I was in the Ozarks, I went to Lazy Gators and Shady Gators and walked it, and really got the lay of the land and got the feel of it here. It's my understanding this parcel is close enough to well serve those two establishments with their patrons, either walking or at worst a quick shuttle ride. This really strikes me, Manny, as one of those win-win-wins. It's a win for the businesses. They'll be able to serve their customers. It's a win for the residents and the other businesses in the area, because it may not eliminate the parking problems, but it will solve them substantially. And finally, it's a win for taxpayers, because this is an investment where nobody's asking for a subsidy or taxes like the Transportation Development District, which had addressed some of the parking issues in the area. So everybody should be happy with this, and why the county isn't fully on board is perplexing to me.
Well, we will keep our eyes on this story and on this issue, and we'll see how indeed that does play out there as we continue our time here with David Stokes from the Show Me Institute on this week's edition of Show Me at the Lake here on News Talk 1150, 97.5 KRMS. The other thing that we did want to talk about this morning, David, and when you threw this out here, I was glad to see it, but you're going to share with us a little bit about your experience so far with the entire issue of Obamacare, and tell us a little bit about how that's affecting you.
Well, right. It's always fun to take the theoretical down to the personal, even if, in my case, the personal's pretty upsetting to me, and I am angry about this. And I'm going to quote from an online article here. I think we've all heard the supporters of Obamacare and the president himself talking about the Affordable Care Act and saying, they've said it many, many times, if you have your health insurance, if you like your health insurance plan under Obamacare, you can keep it. And the president said many times, and supporters of the Affordable Care Act said many times that, I'm quoting him here, this law will only make it more secure and more affordable. Well, I can say from personal experience that is not true at all, because my health insurance, it wasn't canceled for tomorrow, but at some point next year, my health insurance that I use for my family has been canceled, and it is due to Obamacare, and I'll explain in a moment why you can directly blame the Affordable Care Act here. And it's going to be replaced again at some point next year with a new insurance plan that is going to be much more expensive, more than double the cost for my family. And I'm livid. I was insured. My family was insured. We had a plan that worked for us, worked very well for us. We paid the full cost of it. We weren't subsidized by our employers, by other taxpayers or anything. We liked it. We wanted to keep it, and we can't.
It is interesting because you're not the first person that I've talked to that said they have received notices. We've had a couple emails here into the radio station, some phone calls as well, of the exact same thing, that their insurance policies are being terminated by different companies. And I guess the companies feel that they're giving people a heads up because it's not immediately, but it is going to be, as you mentioned, somewhere down the road. Do you think at some point there's going to be some type of either clarification on this from the administration, be it Washington, D.C. or the insurance companies, to try to understand how this is going on, because it's obviously affecting a lot of people?
It is, and I do not have any faith that they will attempt to fix it, because the fix required here sort of goes against what they want to accomplish. What happened to me, and is happening to other people, is that the new requirements for the Affordable Care Act sort of destroy the point of high-deductible health insurance plans. What my family had was a high-deductible plan affiliated with a health savings account, so that my wife and I paid our premiums, and up to, I think it's $5,000 a year, all money was on us. We had to pay everything, and then after that, we would have had total insurance coverage. And we've got 3 children, and this plan worked great for us. But because it was high deductible, because it didn't cover enough things. It didn't cover certain things that I will say we do not need. We don't need maternity care now. We don't want it. We don't want all sorts of other things that it's now being required to cover, because it now has to cover all these additional things as mandated by the Affordable Care Act. They had to cancel the policy, and will start us with a new one that does cover all of those things next year and will cost us over twice as much. So when the defenders of the Affordable Care Act and the president said, if you like your insurance, you can keep it and it'll just be cheaper, well, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, they were completely and totally wrong, and we're very upset by it.
Well, I guess some of it is, at least from some of the things that I've heard from different elements with the Health and Human Services Administration, is that they're throwing it now back on the insurance companies, and they're going, well, we told people that it's not going to change. So, in other words, they're trying to absolve themselves from the situation, and they're throwing it back on said company and basically trying to lay the blame at their feet.
And, for some other types of insurance, they might have an argument, and I can certainly admit that it's possible that insurance companies are trying to raise rates and blame Obamacare. But for this example, for these high-deductible health cares, which are now mandated by the ACA to cover things they didn't used to cover, I mean, the government is at fault in this example. These plans worked because they did provide more limited coverage, which, again, I was fully aware of that when we signed up for it. This was a plan that we liked, that worked well for us, and we weren't subsidized by others, and it was what we needed, and it's the type of plan that lots of people can benefit from, particularly maybe young, single, healthy people that we all want to get insured. This was the type of plan that should be encouraged, not made more difficult and not be made more expensive, and that's what Obamacare has done.
So are you going to then pay the extra money for this, I guess, new policy that you're going to have to get, or are you going to look for something different?
That's a great question, and we haven't decided yet. Again, this all just popped on us in a couple days, and the exact date when our policy will be canceled in 2014 isn't known to me. We do have plenty of time to figure it through, thankfully. But, yeah, I think we will consider just going on to the new insurance plan affiliated with the health savings account, which we like and try and save money into. But we are also going to just have to consider moving away from a health savings account strategy and getting a more typical low-deductible health insurance, which will cost us more. We're going to sit down and run a bunch of numbers and figure out what's the next step. But all we know is we had a plan that worked. We had a plan that was affordable to us, that we paid for and covered ourselves, and we can no longer use it.
I guess if you would please keep us informed, maybe we can revisit this as we kind of get down the road here closer towards the first of the year, because it's my understanding that many of these policies that are no longer going to exist will go out as of January 1st of the next year, sometime in the first quarter of 2014. So we can continue to talk about this, because I think there's more and more people out there that are being affected by this thing known as Obamacare. David Stokes with the Show Me Institute. As always, thank you so much for the time, for the thoughts, for the visit here on this edition of Show Me at the Lake. Please give us your, first of all, the web address for the Show Me Institute, and then also your address on Twitter if people would like more information.
Thank you, Manny. Your listeners can see everything the Show Me Institute writes. All of our studies, videos, whatever, everything gets put up on our website right away. Fully available at showmeinstitute.org. That's all one word, and then .org. And our blog is showmedaily.org. And you listeners would love it if they'd follow me on Twitter at David C. Stokes.
David Stokes, thank you so much for the time, sir. We'll visit next Thursday here on News Talk KRMS.
Thank you, Manny. Talk to you next week, buddy.
Yep, thank you. David Stokes with the Show Me Institute on for this week's edition of Show Me at the Lake.